Let me ask you something before we even get into this episode. How many times have you told yourself, starting Monday, I'm changing? How many times have you watched a motivational video, felt that fire in your chest, and told yourself something, this time is different? And then 3 days later, you're right back where you started. We've all been there. And I have. Here's the truth nobody wants to hear. Motivation was never going to save you. It's not built to last, and that's because it's an emotion, and emotions come and go like the weather. But what actually separates people who actually change their lives from people who just talk about it? And it isn't motivation, it's discipline. Today we're breaking down exactly how it's built. Not through willpower, not through hype, but through identity, systems, and your relationship with discomfort. So let's start by going into it. Let's start with the biggest misconception out there, that successful people are just more motivated than everyone else. They're not. They just stopped waiting to feel like to be in the right frame of mind. Motivation is a feeling. It shows up when conditions are right, when you're rested, when you're inspired, when the timing feels good. But life doesn't hand you the perfect conditions. Discipline is what shows up when motivation doesn't. Think about the compound effect of small actions. It's never one dramatic decision that changes your life. It's the boring, repeated choices no one sees. The workout that you didn't want to do, that extra hour of work when you were tired. Or maybe it's that meal you had to force yourself to eat because you weren't hungry. None of that feels good in the moment. None of it is motivating. But stacked over months and years, those small decisions compound into something completely different, a completely different life. Here's the shift you need to make. Stop asking, how do I get motivated? And start asking yourself, what systems can I build so it doesn't matter whether I'm motivated or not? Here's something most people get backwards. They try to change their actions first, hoping their identity will eventually catch up. It almost never works that way. It actually works in the reverse. If you see yourself as someone trying to get into shape, you'll quit the first time it's an inconvenience, because trying implies it's an option. But if you see yourself as someone who trains, missing a workout doesn't feel like a choice anymore. It feels like a betrayal of who you are. This is the difference between behavioral changes and identity changes. Behavioral change is fragile. It depends on your mood, your energy, or your circumstances. Whereas identity change is actually stable. Because now you're not doing the hard thing to reach a goal. You're doing it because that is simply who you are. That's the type of person you are. So, here's the part that most people miss. Identity isn't something you discover. It's something you decide. You've got the choice. You are quite literally the story you keep telling yourself about who you are. And you have more control over that story than you think. So ask yourself, what's the identity that would make discipline automatic for me? Not, I want to be disciplined, but am I the kind of person who doesn't need convincing? Nobody builds discipline sitting in comfort. Discipline is forged in exactly the moment when you want to quit. There's a mental phenomenon worth understanding, and it's brought out in David Goggins' book, You Can't Hurt Me. And this is it. When your mind tells you that you're done, that you have nothing left, and that you need to stop, you are usually only about 40% of the way to your actual limit. Your brain's already putting the brakes on way before your body has actually reached its limit. That 60% gap between what your mind tells you and what you are actually capable of, that's where discipline lives. This is why people who deliberately seek out discomfort, like cold showers, hard workouts, difficult conversations, uncomfortable growth, end up building a different relationship with pain. They stop running from it. Nobody builds this. They start using it as fuel. Every time you choose the harder path when the easy one was right there, you make a deposit in what we might call your discipline account. And when life eventually forces hardship on you, because it will, you have already trained for that moment. Comfort doesn't build people. Comfort preserves people exactly where they are. If you want to change, you have to get uncomfortable on purpose before life makes you. I can talk from my own experience. Life forced me to make the changes I needed to make. Let's talk about willpower. Willpower is a limited resource. It gets depleted throughout the day. Every decision you make, every temptation you resist, drains it a little further. By the time you get home at night, you almost have nothing left. That's why disciplined people seemingly rarely rely on willpower at all. They actually rely on systems. A system removes the decisions entirely. Like, if your gym clothes are already laid out, you don't have to talk yourself into working out. You just put them on. If junk food isn't in your house, you don't have to resist it 50 times a day. The environment really made that decision for you. This is the real secret behind people who seem to have superhuman discipline. It's not that they have more willpower than you. It's that they have engineered the environment so discipline is the path of least resistance, and giving up would actually take more effort. Truly proactive people don't wait for the right feeling to act. They build structures ahead of time, so that when the moment of resistance comes, the system carries them through it. Design your life so your future self doesn't have to rely on willpower at all. Here's the foundation underneath everything we've talked about so far. None of it works if you're still making excuses. You cannot build discipline while blaming your circumstances, your job, your childhood, bad luck, or other people. The moment you assign responsibility to something outside of yourself, you actually hand over your power to change it. If it's someone else's fault, then someone else has to fix it, and you're actually stuck waiting. Total ownership means looking at every part of your life, your health, your finances, your relationship, your habits, and ask, what is my role in this, and what can I do about it starting today? Not to shame yourself, but just to reclaim your power. Before you can build discipline in the big areas of life, you have to first take ownership of the small things directly in front of you. Clean up what's within your control before you try and take on the world. Discipline doesn't start with some grand transformation. It starts with making your bed, showing up on time, doing the small things you said you would do. Ownership isn't about guilt, it's about power. The moment you stop blaming and start owning, you become the person capable of change and amazing things. So let's bring all of these things together. Discipline isn't a personality trait. Some are born with and others aren't. It's built through identity, through systems, through your relationship with discomfort, and through radical ownership of your life. Stop waiting for motivation, because it's not coming and you actually don't need it. Decide who you are and let your identity make the decisions for you. Get comfortable with being uncomfortable, because that's where you actually grow. That's where you'll see real growth in your life. Build systems so discipline doesn't rely on how you feel that day. And own everything. No excuses, no blaming, no waiting for someone else to fix it. Here's your challenge for this week. Pick one thing you've been avoiding. Just one. Something small enough that you can't talk yourself out of it, but big enough that it really matters. Do it today, not because you feel like it. You probably won't. Do it because that's exactly who you are deciding to become. Discipline isn't built in the big moments everyone sees. It's built in the small ones that nobody's actually watching. That's it for this episode. If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe. And also, please share it with someone who needs to hear this too. But until next time, stay focused, stay disciplined, and become the bear within.